Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so we can continue this journey of resting with the Holy Spirit every night together. God bless you. Part 1. The Broken Man. Thomas had everything the world said would make him happy. A good job, a beautiful home, a loving family. But on a cold November morning, he sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, feeling completely empty. His company had collapsed overnight. His business partner had betrayed him, taking years of savings with him. His wife had left, taking their 2 children. The bank was calling every morning. The neighbors who once waved and smiled now turned away. Thomas was 42 years old, and he felt like his entire life had been crushed into dust. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. He hadn't slept properly in weeks. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of people who had laughed at him, mocked him, abandoned him. "I am finished," he whispered to himself. "There is nothing left." That evening, unable to sit in his empty house any longer, Thomas walked outside. He didn't know where he was going. His feet simply moved. Down the street, past the shops, past the park, until he found himself standing at the shore of a quiet lake outside town. The sun was setting. Golden light spread across the water like fire. Thomas sat down on a rock, put his face in his hands, and wept. Part 2. The Old Man by the Lake. He was still crying when he heard a voice. "Beautiful evening, isn't it?" Thomas looked up. An old man was sitting nearby, calm, gentle, with kind eyes that seemed to carry the weight of many years. He was dressed simply, and he looked at the sunset with a quiet smile, as if he had no problems in the world. "How can anything be beautiful?" Thomas said bitterly. "Everything in my life has fallen apart." The old man nodded slowly. He didn't look shocked. He didn't offer empty comfort. "Tell me," the old man said softly, "what do you think is the strongest tree in a forest?" Thomas frowned. "I don't know. A big one? A tall one?" The old man shook his head. "The strongest tree," he said, "is not the tallest. It is the one whose roots go deepest into the ground. A storm can bend it. It can lose its leaves. It can crack and groan under the wind. But because its roots are deep, nothing can uproot it." Thomas stared at him. "What does that have to do with me?" The old man looked at him with gentle eyes. "Everything," he said. Part 3. The Secret Jesus Revealed. The old man opened a small, worn Bible that he had been holding in his lap. He turned to a page slowly, as if he had read it 1,000 times. He began to speak, not reading exactly, but sharing, as if these were words he carried in his heart. Jesus once told his followers a story. He said, "A wise man builds his house upon a rock. The rain falls, the floods come, the winds blow and beat against that house, but it does not fall because it is built on a firm foundation." Thomas listened quietly. "And a foolish man," the old man continued, "builds his house on sand. When the storm comes, and the storm always comes, the house falls, and great is its fall." The old man closed the Bible gently. "Most people," he said, "build their lives on sand, on money, on other people's opinions, on success, on beauty, on power. These things feel solid until the storm comes, and when they collapse, the person collapses with them." Thomas felt something stir inside his chest, a strange feeling, like something was beginning to loosen. "Then what is the rock?" Thomas asked quietly. The old man smiled, a warm, full smile. "Your relationship with God," he said simply. "Your faith, your inner character, your values. The things no storm can touch, because they live inside you, not outside you." Part 4. The 4 Pillars. The sun had nearly set now. The sky was turning deep purple and orange. Thomas didn't want to leave. He felt for the first time in weeks that someone was speaking words that actually mattered. "Jesus revealed 4 secrets," the old man said, holding up 4 fingers. 4 things that make a person unbreakable. The first, know your identity. Most people define themselves by what they have. Their job title, their bank balance, their relationship status. But Jesus said, "You are a child of God." That identity cannot be taken from you. No company can fire you from that. No court can remove it. No person can steal it. Thomas thought about how he had introduced himself for years. "I'm Thomas. I run a logistics company." Now the company was gone, and he had felt like he was gone too. The second, build on truth, not feelings. "Feelings are like weather," the old man said. "They change every hour. If you base your strength on how you feel, you will be strong one day and destroyed the next." Jesus said, "The truth will set you free. Root yourself in what is true, not in what feels comfortable." Thomas nodded slowly. The third, learn to suffer without losing yourself. The old man's voice grew quieter. "This is the hardest one. Jesus himself suffered deeply. He was betrayed by a close friend. He was abandoned by his followers. He was humiliated publicly. He faced death. And yet, he did not become bitter. He did not collapse into hatred. He endured suffering without letting it corrupt his soul." "That," the old man said, "is true strength. Not the absence of pain, but the ability to carry pain without becoming it." Thomas felt his throat tighten. He had been consumed by bitterness for months. He realized it now. The fourth, never stop serving. The moment you turn inward completely, only thinking about your own pain, your own loss, your own failure, you begin to die inside. Jesus said, "Whoever loses his life for others will find it." Meaning, the moment you reach out, even in your own brokenness, to help someone else, you begin to heal. Part 5. The long night. That night, Thomas walked home differently. Something had shifted, not everything. His problems were still real. The debt was still real. The loneliness was still real. But something inside him had changed. He sat at his kitchen table, and for the first time in years, he prayed. Not the polite, routine prayer of a man who goes to church on Sundays. A raw, honest prayer. The prayer of a man on his knees. "I don't know if you are listening," he said quietly to the ceiling, "but I am here, and I have nothing left. I built everything on the wrong things. I'm asking you, teach me to build again, on something that cannot fall." He sat in silence for a long time, and in that silence, something remarkable happened. Not a voice, not a vision, not a miracle that solved all his problems instantly. Just peace. A deep, strange, unexpected peace. Like a hand placed gently on a panicking heart. Thomas didn't fully understand it, but he felt it. And it was real. Part 6. The rebuilding. The months that followed were not easy. Thomas found a small job, far below what he had before. He moved into a smaller apartment. He ate simple meals. He had to face people who had known him in better days. But something was different now. When bad news came, and it still came, he didn't crumble the way he used to. He bent, but he didn't break. He began attending a small church near his apartment. He met people who were also struggling. A young woman recovering from illness, an elderly man who had lost his wife, a teenager trying to stay off the wrong path. Thomas began spending time with them, listening, helping where he could. One Sunday, the pastor spoke about the parable of the rock and the sand. "The storm doesn't ask your permission before it arrives," the pastor said. "It doesn't care how prepared you are, it comes. The question is never, will the storm come? The question is, what are you built on?" Thomas closed his eyes. He knew the answer now. Part 7. The unexpected return. 18 months later, Thomas received a phone call from a former colleague, a man named Richard, who had heard what Thomas was doing in the community. "I've been watching you," Richard said. "I don't know how to say this, but you are different. Calmer, stronger, more real than the guy I used to know who had everything." "I lost everything," Thomas said simply. "I know," Richard said. "That's why I'm calling. I'm starting a new company. I want someone I can trust, someone who has been through fire and didn't lose their soul. Would you consider being my partner?" Thomas was quiet for a moment. He thought about where he had been 18 months ago, sitting on a rock by a lake, broken and weeping. He thought about the old man. He thought about the 4 pillars. "Yes," Thomas said, "but I need you to know something. I'm going to run this business differently than before, not just for profit, for purpose. Richard laughed. That's exactly why I called you. Part 8. The Message. 3 years later, Thomas stood at the front of a large room speaking to a group of young entrepreneurs. Someone once asked me, he said, "What is the secret to becoming strong and steadfast in life?" He paused. I used to think the answer was work harder, make more money, build more walls around yourself so nothing can hurt you. He shook his head. But I was wrong. The secret Jesus revealed, and I say this not as a religious speech but as a man who lived it, is this. He held up his hand and counted. Know who you are, not what you have. Build on truth, not on feelings or the opinions of others. Learn to suffer without becoming bitter, and keep serving, even when you are the one who needs help. The room was quiet. If you understand this, Thomas said softly, nothing can break you anymore. Not failure, not betrayal, not loss, not time, because you will be built, not on the things of this world that come and go, but on something deeper, something unshakable. He looked out at the faces in the room. The storm will come, he said. It always does. The question is, what are you built on? Epilogue. By the lake. That evening, Thomas drove back to the lake outside town. He sat on the same rock where he had wept 3 years ago. The sun was setting again, golden and wide across the water. He thought about the old man. He had never seen him again after that evening. He had asked people in the area, but no one seemed to know him. Thomas smiled quietly. He looked at the sky. Thank you, he said simply. The wind moved gently through the trees. The water was still, and Thomas, once broken, now rooted, sat in perfect peace.